Hey, all my IFG friends, this is Steve. I want to say, if you like movies like I do, we've started a new podcast called Happy Hour Flicks. You can find it anywhere podcasts are found. It's all about nostalgic movies that we love, and we bring on special guests each episode, and we also have specialty cocktails made for each one, too. So it really is an hour of a good time talking about movies that we love, like Gremlins, Seven, Free Willy. We talk about The Last Starfighter also. I mean, we kind of run the gamut across all the decades and really have a great time. So wanted to invite you to come over and join us at Happy Hour Flicks, anywhere podcasts are found.
He said that our film was so punk rock and he really appreciated that. And I was like, hell yeah, man. Thank you.
This is the Independent
Filmmaker's Guide
from Framework Productions.
Framework Productions.
And we are back today with the Independent Filmmaker's Guide. I am your host, Stephen Pierce.
And I'm James Allerdyce, and today we are talking to the filmmakers Emily Bennett and Justin Brooks with the film Alone with You.
This one, is an extra fun one because it's always fun to get to celebrate with an independent filmmaker. They've got their premiere coming up. They just sold their film to a distributor, and they got their theatrical showing at the Alamo, sold out in 8 minutes. But also friends of ours. They've worked with us, several times on commercial jobs and some other small creative stuff. Emily, she's been a part of our company, and it's always great to get to celebrate with the filmmaker. But this one's extra special.
Yeah, and there's something, huge about this movie, which is it was made by them, and I mean by them.
By them only.
There's a few actors in the film, but Emily is the star, and her and Justin co-directed, and her and Justin were the crew of the movie. I mean, it was filmed by the two of them. In their home, filmed in the home they lived at that time in Brooklyn. It is just independent filmmaking at its most gutsy, at its most heartfelt, you know what I mean? Where it's two people just saying, to hell with it all, we're doing it and nobody's stopping us. That's right. So if you want to hear, if you've ever thought about it, and I know you have because I know everyone who is interested in film has thought about, can I just make this movie? Can I just do it? If you want to hear about, the process of doing that, then this is the episode for you.
I had a substance that I had to have on me, and I had to physically be in quite a distressed mode.
That's Emily Bennett, co-director, co-writer, and star of the film.
We're both fans first. So it's like getting to go and experience that and just now be counted among their peers is a huge honor.
And that's Justin Brooks, co-director, co-writer, and cinematographer.
Alone with You is a paranoid thriller / horror film about the horrors of finding out you may not know who you are when you're separated from the ones you love. I think it's a horror film, a thriller about an identity crisis and a tragic love story.
Yeah, it's a movie about mistrust in yourself, mistrust in others, and mistrust in your perception of the world around you.
Emily and Justin, it's very exciting to see you. Emily, obviously, we've known you for a little while, so it's awesome to get to see the success you guys are having with Alone. You're premiering coming up, and exciting news today. Dark Star Pictures just picked up your film, and you have sold Alamo out in 8 minutes or something for a screening. So I think you guys are off to a hell of a good start for an independent film.
Thank you.
I would agree with you. Thank you.
Very excited.
We're on cloud 9 today, so thank you so much.
Yeah. Of course. No, I just got to watch it this morning. James watched it last night, and I really, really always appreciate films that show so much heart and commitment, and especially making this during COVID and all of that is a crazy, insane task to take on. So, how much of the concept was driven by COVID, and how much of it was something you'd visualized beforehand?
We did want to, we shot 2 short films during quarantine, figured, hey, it'll be easy to shoot a feature, right? But going into that, we did have the confidence of having made 2 short films, but we didn't want to start from scratch with the feature. So we started talking about what short film ideas do we have that we could potentially stretch, that we could really go into and dig and create a feature with? And we settled on a script that Justin had written prior to quarantine, with a male lead. And Justin, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously Emily, also being an actor, she's my actor in a lot of shorts. And so I wrote a short film in a full-on attempt to not have Emily as my lead. And so I wrote it for a friend of hers, with a friend of hers in mind, a man. And then, of course, that's the short that became the feature film starring Emily Bennett. Everything was changed to the opposite of sex, and
you can't get rid of it.
Yeah. But the short film was, I want to say, written probably about a year prior.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think it was also one that we never intended on writing a COVID film. We didn't want to make a pandemic movie. We didn't want to make a movie that had anything to do with the horror show that was already happening outside. You know, it's funny that so many people kind of tapped into like a lot of the pandemic movies at the time, whereas Emily and I were like, we don't want anything to do with that. We don't want to be thinking of that in our entertainment. But this was, I think, a spiritual kind of cousin in that it's about isolation. It is about kind of loss of identity in a way. And I think a lot of the themes that came through in the short film were very present in all our lives during the pandemic. So it just felt very easy to slide into. And I wrote the short film. Everything I write, I tend to write with kind of the idea of, you know, film, work with what you have. And I always have, you know, wherever I'm living and whoever I have access to. So it's usually very contained, usually very small, and easy to accomplish. Because I come from kind of a one-man band background. So I don't ever depend on having anything other than what is around me.
Which is good in this case, because there was nothing. There was no crew. There was no one else. But just to go back to your question, Steve, the creation of this story really started with the short film that Justin had written. And then when we started co-writing this feature that thankfully Andrew Corkin and Theo James loved the concept of, jumped in on immediately. They were there at the very beginning with us, from outline to scriptment to shooting draft. Luckily, me and Justin working together, I am the actor, I am the co-writer, I am the co-director. So I was able to be fully the writer while still creating realistic dialogue that I, Emily, want to say. I know when I get a bad script. I know when something doesn't memorize well or it doesn't come out well.
Feel right in the mouth, yeah.
Yeah, you can tell when something's not natural, and you can kind of always smell that, and or you can feel it. There's something in you. So that was part of our process working together too.
That's a great opportunity that we have together, is that not every writer has a fantastic actor to sit there and actually just read the lines with them and be able to hear it. And like, so Emily and I are very equal in the way we work. We really, everything is split right down the middle. We write scene for scene. We work together entirely in the concept. We work together in the visual sense. But when it comes to really being able to sit with a script and understand, does this work? I have a huge benefit in being able to hear it from my actor immediately and be like, okay, yeah, this works, or Emily is able to kind of feel out the meter of the conversation and see what kind of really kind of gets in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you see kind of in the relationship, like early on, the main key relationship, there's a lot of, at the core of it, it's just kind of questioning, tearing apart, and constantly examining whether this is a thing, whether this isn't a thing, is it reality, is it not? And I think that's all, that's all very apparent and done well. So, but you filmed this during the quarantine together, written together, directed together. And I filmed in your own home, even at that point, where you were living in Brooklyn at that point?
That's correct.
Yep.
So you guys really took the relationship aspect, both personally and professionally, and just ratcheted that bad boy right up a notch.
Yeah, we
set it up a couple years.
I mean, we luck out in how much we enjoy each other's company, because this could have ended poorly. It was definitely a test, but again, I mean, we work so well together. There's very few times that there's any real butting of heads, and even when there is, I think both of us are just really, pardon, both of us are really well versed in taking notes and understanding where those notes are coming from. So when we would come to each other with kind of changes that we felt when we weren't entirely in sync, we're also pretty good at hearing one another. So luckily, it was not as difficult for us, I think, as some people would expect, to be in a relationship, to be locked in together, to be working together. That part's not the hard part. I think the hard part for us was just the stress of everything that surrounds a film, and the fact that stress was exponential because it's just the two of us now. So I actually think it was amazing to be able to have somebody so supportive, because we both really needed that to be able to get through this. Making a movie isn't easy. Making a bad movie isn't easy. So like making this film with just the two of us was unbelievably difficult. And I think, it's funny, I keep on listening to the interviews that we're doing. I keep on hearing us say the same thing. And that's the fact that we were terrified from day one to now. And it's only been until recently that we've really been able to step back and fully enjoy the fact that we just made a film, because we were terrified writing it. We were terrified doing it. I
was definitely terrified making it.
Everything is so unbelievably scary. And at the end of the day, there's nobody to blame but the two of us. We can't be like, man, that shitty AD, can you believe it?
I was the AD.
And there's like a scene specifically with an air vent in your kitchen. Were you just like, always fuck this air vent? Like, I'm getting in here and this thing's always bugged me and I'm going to make it a villain, or just something you found along the way?
I will tell you, Justin had lived in that apartment for like 10 years, and I moved in there February before lockdown. So I had just moved in, got my stuff there. Hey, everyone, let's do quarantine. And we were like, oh, shit. Okay. And honestly, Justin, at the end of I think midway through shooting, he was just like, I never knew that vent would play such an important role in my life. He didn't have any ill will towards that vent before.
Okay, speaking of additional characters in here, a lot of my favorite scenes are with her.
With you mean the friend?
The friend on the cell phone, yeah.
Yeah, Thea, played
Dora
by
Madison.
Dora Madison. Yeah.
God bless her.
She's from Friday Night Lights, right? Isn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite characters from that.
Yeah, she's from VFW Bliss. Dora is phenomenal. Cannot sing her praises enough.
And how did you get in touch with her? How did the casting work?
We actually had a casting director on this. So,
great.
The only person who, other than me, signed on to do this film, Justin and I talked when we were creating the script of this, and we realized that we really wanted all of the voices and all of the characters in the film that are heard, that are seen with speaking lines. We want all of the voices in the film to be female. All of them. You see one man, you never hear a man, even in the soundtrack, it's female voices. And so Justin and I latched onto the fact that we wanted this to be a relationship between two women. We really wanted, it just felt right for this story. So honestly, I thought, who is my most famous best friend in the city? And I was like, like one of my best friends in the world, Emma Miles from Orange is the New Black, who's phenomenal. And I met her like starring in a film a couple years ago. She played my cousin in a wonderful film called King of Knives. We became like BFFs, and I called her and I was like, hey, this is crazy. Do you want to be part of this? And she was like, fuck yeah. So there you go. She became part of the film. So she was part of it really early. And then we signed on a casting director. Justin, if you want to take that.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, our casting director brought up a bunch of people that he had read through the script, understood the characters. We gave him the ideas of what type of people. The funny thing is, the character of Thea is actually my, when I was writing initially, I was hearing Emma in my head because Emma's such a big personality. She's such a funny personality to have around. So that's like, I think, so we split up scenes, and I think I had the first Thea scene. And that's where I pulled from. And I feel like Emily just took it the exact same direction. So I attribute a lot of the Thea character to, I guess, our interpretation of hanging out with a very fun Emma Miles. And then Dora Madison just took that character to an amazing level. Like she is just, she's so brilliant in that, and she's so much fun. She's some of my favorite scenes in the film as well. She's just so fun to watch.
She's the comic relief. We cast her off of performances we had seen of hers on Dexter, and then we got on a phone call with her, which turned into a couple phone calls, never an audition. We talked to her and we were like, this is right. And we talked to a couple other people. We saw different reels, and we were just like, no, it's her. This doesn't work for her. And then Barbara Crampton.
Yeah, which I was freaking out about because I'm an enormous Reanimator fan. I love Reanimator, love From Beyond. Like, I grew up watching Barbara Crampton be awesome in all these horror films. And
she's as amazing as anyone would ever want her to be. She's so kind. She rehearsed with me. She didn't have to do that. Like, booking Barbara Crampton was just such a wonderful gift. And honestly, like, Justin grew up watching her. I came to her work a little bit later in You're Next, in Channel Zero, in kind of the newer Creep Show, like the newer work that she's done. And I just really was like, is this big enough for her? Is she gonna, like, this is so crazy. Like, we mailed her a camera. We like worked through this with her, and she helped us with our EPK, with like our press kit. And she has truly gone above and beyond. And so Dora and Barbara were through casting, and the rest were friends.
And at the end of the day, a lot, and Barbara had said this, a lot of the people that we were able to get on just really enjoyed the script. Barbara really loved the script she was sent, was excited about the dynamic. Dora said the same. They were just really excited about the script. So that's when we really got to kind of talk through the characters.
So with those characters that are represented through digital mediums in the film, on a phone and on a computer and some other fun things, did you film those? Yeah. How did you film? Did you film those on a phone and you said you sent her a camera? How did you go about like replicating the look, or did you just go for the practical phone and that type of thing?
All green screen. I never had a scene partner ever in this film, unless Emma Miles was on set with me physically, which was very rare and very carefully done with COVID testing, with a COVID officer on set Justin's father, who is a doctor. All of that was done incredibly carefully and negotiated with SAG. Other than the scenes that I'm physically around Emma, I am working with a green screen.
Yeah.
Or
and then everything else was done. We mailed every other actor a GoPro camera and worked with them and being able to like frame up appropriately, kind of set it up.
Gave Dora
in
lights
the right way.
too to kind of stage a bar scene.
Yeah, we gave Dora lights. Every actor in this helped with their own set deck, their own makeup, their own everything. So it was a lot of faith being thrown around in very talented people. So we lucked out, but it was not easy. It was really tricky to find the marriage in the performance, and then of course the visual effect and what would end up being in the edit and how that would work. And it was, I think I was terrified about that. That was, I hate not
about directing people via, like not being in the room with them and trying to get what you want.
So many people say acting is reacting, and being able to play off of somebody is so important for an actor, and being able to kind of have that energy back and forth. So there's always the question of like, is this going to work? Are these people going to seem like they're talking to one another? And that's an attribute to Emily's amazing performance, Barbara, Thea, Dora, all their amazing performances, because you'd never know that they were nowhere near each other. They were not performing against one another. Our editor, Ward Crockett, did just this brilliant job of making it so seamless and give it such a meter that when I first saw one of our phone conversations, it was like just set the world off of my shoulder and took a deep breath. Like
you and me both.
Yeah, the first time you're like, oh, thank God, that I wasn't sure if that was going to work.
Yeah.
And neither one of us did. I will back up just a tiny bit as far as like the way we shot Barbara's scenes. Now, the setup, the shot of our setup is actually in Fangoria. She did a kind of a little blurb about it right after we had shot. But our living room looked insane. And basically, Barbara and I were Zooming, but we were actually Zooming, but she was recording herself on the GoPro, but she also had to have headphones in so that we could use her audio, because I'm acting with her, but I'm acting with her as a director to feed her the performance I'm somewhat planning on giving later. Because basically I'm trying to feed her a performance as a co-director and as an actor. I'm trying to get the performance out of her that I want to react to later.
Yeah, absolutely. You're kind of building your scene partner.
Yeah, it was very reverse.
It was not hard to pretend that I lost my mind in this film. But I actually did.
So I want to talk a little bit more about like the technical aspects of it. So you say, Justin, you kind of work on things that are always around you and always available. Was that, again, what you were doing here? You kind of working with lenses, cameras, lights, and things you already own as a cinematographer?
Mostly. It was kind of, we were, our two producers were very kind in this and actually fully funded the film. So there were still things rented. I rented lenses for the majority of film stuff that I wanted to shoot on. But it was always
What were they? What did you shoot on?
So I shot, the camera I shot primarily on the Ursa G2, which is my personal camera. And then, it was a mix between the Ursa G2 and the Pocket 4K at the time. Mm-hmm. And then
you shooting raw. Sorry, this is where we get into the nitty gritty. You're shooting all raw on it.
Shooting B raw, so Blackmagic raw throughout the entire thing, because I still didn't know if I was editing this, so I needed something manageable, something like, as much as I'd love to run out and grab, Red Code or an RE raw, like that just wasn't in the cards. So we were working with as manageable a setup as we could. And then I rented a bunch of Zeiss CP2s, which I love those lenses because I think they're very neutral lenses. They I can play around with them as far as their end result and color and whatnot. And I own a set of Zeiss Distigons, which are the same glass essentially. So I knew that once our rental was up, if we needed to go back and do any reshoots or anything like that, I had very comparable glass to be able to jump on without having to re-rent.
Yeah, and it seems like those lenses are pretty fast, but still pretty sharp and they don't have a lot of craziness to them. So, and it seems like kind of the lighting concept is mostly practical, mostly what you got supplementing here and there, right?
Yeah, as far as from a cinematography standpoint, I'm a little more in the Deacon side of things that I don't fully like. I don't like dirty lenses. I don't like crazy anamorphic stretch. I love to make the camera kind of disappear as much as I can. I don't want people to know they're watching a film through a lens. So I typically am attached to things that technically will disappear as much as possible. I want the story to be paid attention to, the character, the actions, and less like that awesome anamorphic flare in the corner, So
was your lighting kit, did you own that, or is that rentals, or what did you use for your main?
I owned most of it. It was a lot of LED lights, a lot of aperture stuff, some nan light tubes, a lot of LED stuff simply because I didn't have the power in the house to be able to support anything else, and I needed small fixtures.
And we lost power, by the way.
I was going to ask, did you ever blow your power in your apartment?
We did not, but the city did apparently, and we were out of power for 2 days. But it was the idea, like anybody that knows a New York apartment, no matter how big the apartment is, it's not that large. So I needed fixtures that could literally be right off frame, like tucked into a corner, and still be able to throw the quality of light that we were looking for instead of just a bunch of like little hard sources popped all around. So initially, and Emily, luckily, when it comes to the aesthetic, is attracted to kind of the same looks that I am. So we talked early on that we wanted a very, very practical idea, mostly practically lit with motivations, and then, trying to keep away from, I guess we didn't want to go any more hyper real or anything. We wanted the world to feel very concrete.
Mm. So let's flip over to like the AD side and the scheduling side of this. When did you decide to do it? How many days did you film it? And like, just what was the process like, There
was not a single person other than us in that apartment for the basically 45-day shoot.
With the exception of my father, who cooked dinner. My dad was there for, I think, four days.
Your dad was there for 4 days. So his dad held a green screen on the beach for us at some point. He helped with some of the, there was caustic lighting at some point.
Pushed water for me.
But this was a one-person, Justin, you were a one-person crew for this movie?
It was not just me. Emily was.
She was crew for herself.
She was crew for herself. She was.
I helped
two-person crew.
There were literally moments where Emily was moving a light and then getting into character
with my headphones. With Charlie's soundtrack of love songs for Simone, and I'm just like, and like moving the light, and then like get into the scene.
Yeah. Before
guys, insanity. We don't recommend anyone do.
No, but before we shot, just in anticipation, I got a bunch of pin plates and little baby pins and whatnot, and I zipped those into every corner on the ceiling I could possibly put.
I can't believe you got your deposit back. But yeah, that ceiling is Swiss cheese now. We hung lights. We hung the boom from the ceiling at some point. The boom was mostly held by a rake stand just out of frame. I mean, we had no crew.
I love it. I mean, there's something about that that's really charming. You know, it's like truly going to the episode, but that's obviously it affects your speed. That's why 45 days. But you have two people, you know, you can shoot for 45 days.
Is that 45 shooting days?
Yeah, I'd say so. We started shooting July 1st, and we shot until August 15th, and I think we took 1 or 2 days off. I'm not sure, because we both, and believe me, we both had mental breakdowns along the way. Like at one point I was like, I can't do this. And thankfully he was like, no, you can. And then he would have a moment of like, oh, we can't do this. And I was like, okay, I'm in a good place today. So no, we can. And it was just kind of leapfrogging and being supportive when, you know, we just looked at each other and we were like, okay, who's the stronger one today? Mm-hmm. And
James and I always have as collaborators, we always have a phrase of like, only one of us can be losing our minds at a time.
Basically, yeah. There was one day where we both lost our minds, and we literally, because we have 2 cats, and it was near the end of the shoot. I'm at my height of like Charlie, and we shot pretty much chronologically. So it's near the end of the film. And we have 2 cats, only one of which is in the film. The other cat, Wednesday, wouldn't shut up. And for some reason this day, we couldn't take it. I could not get through this scene without her like jumping on my lap or like off screen. And there's nowhere to put her because she just screams louder. It's home. This is our home that we made into this product, and she wouldn't shut up. And we both just like, I just started crying, and Justin was like, I can't do that. And we both just sat down. I think we both had a kind bar, and we were just like, what are we doing? And then we both looked at each other and we were like, okay, you ready? We were like, yeah, all right, let's go. And then she shut up for the rest of the day, and we finished the movie somehow.
Yeah, we do luck out a great deal in the fact that this is a horror film and she is supposed to be breaking down throughout the entire movie. Because had we tried to make a rom-com with this amount of stress, it would not have worked.
So let's talk about moving on past, you know, filming, and then you get to the editing. We've heard a little bit about that. What happened? What was the course and the pathway to getting to your festival premiere, which is coming up, and then getting connected with the recent sale that you guys made?
Well, I'll take the festival stuff, because actually Emily is largely the reason for our sale. But the festival stuff was much in. You know, we lean on our producers a great deal for what to do with a film now that it's done. And to be honest, when we were finished with a film, God knows if you're ever finished with a film, but when we were done with it, we were so unbelievably tired, and Andrew really stepped up and it was like, okay, I've got it from here, and started, sending it to the places that we felt would respond, and then reaching out to and luckily we got a response from Fantastic Fest, and they loved the film and really wanted the premiere, and I couldn't have been happier for that, because it's such an amazing festival. And then subsequently for the next month or so, we would get more and more people reaching out wanting the film for this festival or that festival, and we've gotten to interact with such amazing programmers, like awesome people that really love film. We were talking about it just the other day. I love the fact that there are people in this industry who don't want to be filmmakers or are not filmmakers, but they just love it so much that they create a festival or they program for one, and they truly are just fans of film. And I love talking to those people because I'm such a fan myself. But yeah, we were really honored to get a lot of wonderful festivals that really responded to the film. And then as far as Dark Star is concerned, that was Emily, you can take that one.
Yeah, sure. And just to kind of put a pin on the festival talk, we world premiere at Fantastic Fest September 27th at Alamo. We sold out in 8 minutes, as you guys said, which is crazy. And then we move on to Grimfest in Manchester in the UK. Salem, there's a couple I can't announce yet. So we have some exciting festival news coming up. So, and then moving into the distro portion, I was working with you guys a couple days after meeting someone at this company. So I was up at Fantasia in Montreal. Right. Because then we had a massive shoot with Adorama and like all the bands and stuff. Cool Brooklyn, like what a cool shoot. That was such a fun shoot with you guys. But yeah, like a few days prior, I was up in Montreal with Jen Wexler, who's been on the show. And I went to dinner one night and we were having dumplings, and there was this, Justin sadly couldn't join me, but I was sitting across the table from a guy who actually looks kind of like Justin. And I was like, oh, like he looked kind of punk and like tattoos. And, I was like, oh, I wonder if like they like the same stuff. And like, we were in a big group, and I just ended up talking to this guy, such a sweetheart. Like most horror and punk, guys, girls, like people that I've met are like the nicest people. Like they look a little scary on the outside and you're like, oh my God, you're so nice. And just got to talking to this guy, and he was just like he's a producer, but like big fan of films, and just kind of stayed in touch with him, Josh Goldblum. And he just kind of circled back around. We were doing online parties last year, like over Gather, the quarantine, kind of like how do we network and how can we be together even though we're online. And I ran into him again, and he had it's been announced, he produced the new VHS film, which is also premiering at Fantastic. Huge. And in this virtual space, I was just like, I'm talking to you now, because you just did a big film, because VHS is a big deal. VHS 94, big deal. And I was just like, I want to hear what you've been up to. Like, I want you to tell me like what your year's been like. And he was like, great. And he's still working with Dark Star. And I was like, we just finished this film, we'd love to show it to you. And he was like, great. And eventually I put him in touch with Andrew, and bada bing, bada boom. I'm very, very glad to say we're now signed with Dark Star, and they couldn't be more supportive, and we are so grateful to them.
Yeah, we lucked out in a great day, and Josh is such a supporter of film. I mean, he's a producer himself and filmmaker, but he's such a lover of film and really, really gets excited about basically the very thing we did, where it was just kind of a fuck it attitude. We're going to go do a thing.
He said that our film was so punk rock, and he really appreciated that. And I was like, hell yeah, man. Thank you.
And it's, Dark Star has, immediately, like, I love that company. I think their push of independent and like just kind of, it's just, I guess, really, really wild voices for the most part with their filmmaking, really interesting stuff. And I love what they did outside of, working with them. But now that we're working alongside them, I can't say we couldn't possibly be happier. They're amazing. They love the film. They're pushing the film so hard and with such love behind it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that is the definite. I mean, that's the best case. That's how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to go to these film festivals and meet people and network, and then network and grow a community and grow a network, and then that pays off, and this person helps this person. So I love that story. I think that's the way it should go. That's amazing.
Well, that's why the festivals are there. That's why these places are there. I mean, it really is like, this is an industry of networking. This is an industry of, and it's weird. I hate the phrase networking because it feels so impersonal, because the reality of it is we go to these festivals and just fall in love with so many people that are just like awesome fans of film and creators like ourselves. And we create fast friendships with so many of these people. it's all just, I come from growing up going to horror conventions and like comic cons and shit like that. I love a good nerd. Like I am such a huge nerd of all sorts. Like, and I love talking shop with other nerds. And like when it comes to film fans, they're some of the best type of nerds, especially the ones that want to make their own stuff. And those are the people that really create the community that ends up kind of pushing people up and up and up. And we support other filmmakers that we're excited about. They support us. It's just, it's always hands helping hands. It's pretty awesome.
And I'll just jump in because I think you're totally right saying that about networking, that word being so like, it makes my hands sweat. Like even just thinking about like, you have to go network now, like,
Yeah.
Like rather than that, I had dumplings. Like I went out, everybody was going for dumplings. I was like, I'm going to go for dumplings. So just if you're at a film festival, if you're around people who are making films and you want to be making films, just go have dumplings with people. Just go have tacos with people. Like literally just go and sit and actually listen. Like shut up about your own thing for a second and just listen to them and what they're doing, because you might learn that they're doing exactly what you're doing. You might learn that they're not doing what you're doing, and you don't need to give them your pitch. You know, I think listening and just literally going and as much as we can in these COVID times, hang out in a safe outdoors area or online at these online parties, just go have dumplings and listen to people.
I love it. I mean, that's half the battle, right? Is knowing you're always pitching, but not always not pitching at the same time. It's being a human. At least, got to be a human first.
Authentic.
And be a human first.
Be a person, be authentic, be excited. Everybody wants you to be excited about the thing you're doing, but you can always tell when it turns into a pitch, or not a pitch, but like when it feels like somebody's just waiting for their turn to talk about their thing. Be genuinely excited about film, be genuinely excited about what these other people are doing. I'll tell you, one of the reasons, and probably one of the biggest reasons Emily and I are excited about Fantastic Fest are all the amazing other filmmakers that we're going to get to go watch their films. I mean, there's some really great films that we're going to, we're both fans first. So it's like getting to go and experience that and just now be counted among their peers is a huge honor for us, and exciting. Like I cannot wait to see the talent that's showing at that festival and meet everybody.
So speaking of fans and all this, where can someone go to find out more about this movie and about both of you?
I keep my website up to date pretty well. I'm pretty fastidious about that. So EmilyReneeBennett.com, EmilyReneeBennett.com. Everyone just does one T. I don't know why.
2 N's, 2 T's.
But we're also very, we're very active on social media as well.
Social media, Dark Star is doing a fantastic job. The Deadline article came out a little while ago now that this episode is dropping, but there's Deadline articles. Bloody Disgusting covered it as well, and I'm sure more announcements are coming. So but yeah, follow us on social media as well.
Yeah, your easiest is social media. If you follow the two of us on social media, you'll get probably more information than you care for. But
and the film is Alone with You. Check it out. I can't believe that they made it with the two people, literally the two people that we're talking to made the whole thing. So please, if you're listening, go check it out. We're gonna end here with one question for you, Justin, one question for you, Emily. Emily, what was let me start. I was going to start with the best. Let me start with the worst. What was the worst moment making this movie? On set. Well, I mean, you may have mentioned, you guys talked about a couple pretty stressful times, but what was the hardest point for you during the whole process? It can be in the edit as well.
I want to hear this too.
the heart, I would say it's a spoiler, so I don't want to get too into it, but there was a point where it was very physically uncomfortable having to I had a substance that I had to have on me, and I had to physically be in quite a distressed mode. And
then I made her do it like 15 times.
Like a lot. It was just a really long day near the end of the day. And I just remember getting through take after take, and just looking up and just being like, did we get it? Did we get it? And him just being like, I think we need to go again. And me being like, oh my God, okay. So I think you guys know what I'm talking about, but I'd say that
I've got a pretty distinct one. So what was the happy moment?
Oh God, the happy moment.
Well, the best, the highest point.
The highest point of this whole thing today.
It's probably still yet to come, I assume.
I mean, so far it's today, guys. Like, honestly, today, in reality, when we're recording this, we got our first like deadline exclusive, like that we sold our first feature film, and that I don't know, in the eyes of the public, we're filmmakers now. We're feature filmmakers, and we like, it's our ticket, I don't know, at least to the party. Like, we have to continue proving ourselves with every film and everything that we do. But at least in the eyes of Deadline, and a bunch of people out there who do read things like that. And I don't know, it feels good. It just feels today's pretty damn great.
Hell yeah. Sounds like a great place to stop to me. Emily, Justin, with the film Alone with You, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you guys so much.
Filmmaking is a collaborative experience, and so is this podcast. Please take a second to subscribe so you know about future episodes, and leave a review. It really does help us. For more info about today's guest, please visit independentfilmmakersguide.com, where you can check out all our episodes that run the gamut of filmmaking topics. They're available in both audio and video format.
IFG is created by Framework Productions. This episode was hosted and directed by Stephen Pierce and James Allerdyce. It was produced and edited by Matt Mundy and Audrey Ray McHale. The music is by Glassboy. Find his music on freemusicarchive.org. See and listen to all the episodes at independentfilmmakersguide.com. Thanks for listening. Hey friends, we just wanted to take a quick moment to talk about two personal things. First, we wanted to thank you, our listening community, and our wonderful guests, learning so much together along the way and continuing to learn, sharing our stories, making a lot of new friends, and collaborating, which is exactly what this is all about. Which also brings me to my second point. In great part to many of these new relationships, we wanted to let you know that we've taken a lot of this advice ourselves and made our own narrative feature film, Herd. H-E-R-D, Herd, which is premiering this October on Friday the 13th in select theaters as well as on VOD. Personally, I think it's the perfect kind of scary movie to watch during our favorite scary season. So we'd love for you to celebrate with us and watch Herd. You can pre-order it on Apple TV and, of course, do the communal thing, see it in theaters. Of course, for all of this, please see our show notes, but basically, we're going to keep it all updated at herd.film. That's herd.film, herd.film as well. Thank you again, and be sure to give us a rating and a review over on Apple Podcasts so we can continue to build this community and collaborate. IFG, how movies get made.